Keanu Reeves pulled up to a small, struggling farm in the dusty heat of Redwood Valley. What happened next would change one man's life, and the lives of countless others, forever. The quiet kindness of a Hollywood icon would spark a movement that would ripple across the world, but there's more to this story than meets the eye. Stay tuned, because tomorrow we have a new chapter in this incredible journey, with secrets yet to be revealed. You won't want to miss it. In the sun-scorched town of Redwood Valley, California, Tom Harper stood at the edge of his orchard, his hands calloused and his heart heavier than the peaches he'd just harvested. The summer of 2023 had been merciless. Drought had shriveled half his crops, and the few buyers who trickled into his roadside stand offered pennies on the dollar. His bank balance hovered near zero, and the mortgage on his family's 100-year-old farm was 3 months overdue. His wife, Maria, had taken a second job at a diner in town. Their teenage daughter, Lily, worked weekends at a grocery store, and Tom's aging father, who'd once tended these orchards with a machete and a prayer, now sat in a rocking chair on the porch, muttering about the old days. That morning, as Tom loaded crates of peaches onto his pickup, a dusty black SUV pulled over. A man in a faded denim jacket, a weathered cap, and sunglasses stepped out. He walked slowly, scanning the rows of trees. "Nice orchard," he said, his voice low and calm. Tom wiped sweat from his brow. "Ain't much left to sell. Drought's been a bitch." The man nodded. "I heard. I'm Keanu. I'm looking to buy fruit." Tom snorted. "You're a tourist, right? Want a peach for your trouble?" Keanu smiled. "How much for the whole truck?" Tom froze. "What?" "The whole load." "How much?" Tom stared at the man, his mind racing. The truck held 500 crates, each worth $30 if he sold them retail. But the nearest market was 80 miles away, and gas prices had eaten his profits for years. "You're kidding," Tom said. Keanu shook his head. "I run a food bank in Oakland. We need fresh produce. Name your price." Tom's throat tightened. $15,000. Cash. Keanu nodded. "Done. I'll wire it today." Tom's hands shook as he wrote down his account details. "Why?" he blurted. "Why help me?" Keanu hesitated. "I've seen droughts before. They're personal." He glanced at Tom's father, who'd shuffled over. "Your dad's been here a long time?" "Since '47. His daddy started this place." Keanu nodded. "Tell him, his orchard's still beautiful." As the SUV drove away, Tom sank to the ground, weeping. The next day, Maria found Tom staring at his bank account. $15,000 sat there, gleaming. "We can pay the mortgage," she whispered. Tom nodded, his voice raw. "And hire help. Maybe even replant the dead rose." Lily ran in, phone in hand. "Dad! Some guy named Keanu wired us money." "Who is he?" Tom hesitated. "A buyer. From Oakland." But Lily wasn't fooled. She Googled Keanu Food Bank and gasped. "Dad, it's Keanu Reeves. The actor. He's been donating to farms and hospitals forever." Tom's face paled. "He didn't say." Over the next year, Tom's farm transformed. With Keanu's money, he installed drought-resistant irrigation, hired 3 workers, and planted heirloom peach varieties. Demand skyrocketed, food bloggers praised his miracle orchard, and tourists flocked to pick fruit. Keanu visited twice, always unannounced. Once, he helped Tom prune trees, his hands sure and steady. "My dad was a farmer," he said quietly. "In Hawaii. He struggled, too." Tom glanced at him. "Why'd you help me?" Keanu smiled. "Because you remind me of him. And because we're all in this together." By 2025, Tom's farm became a symbol of resilience. His peaches were sold in stores nationwide, and he'd started a nonprofit to aid drought-stricken farmers. Keanu's foundation, quietly revealed as the backer, had funded 50 similar projects across the U.S. Maria quit her diner job to manage the farm's store, and Lily studied agriculture at UC Davis, determined to keep Dad's orchard alive. One evening, Tom found Keanu sitting on his porch, watching the sunset. "You know," Keanu said, "my dad used to say, the land remembers. Every seed you plant, every drop of sweat, it stays here. Your orchard, it's a living thing." Tom nodded. "Thanks to you?" Keanu shook his head. "No. Thanks to you? You gave it a second chance." As they watched the sky turn gold, Tom thought of his father, who'd died peacefully the previous winter, murmuring, "The orchard's safe now." And for the first time in decades, Tom felt the weight lift. Keanu Reeves never sought credit for his role in Tom's story. In interviews, he'd deflect praise, saying, "I just did what anyone would do." But in Redwood Valley, they tell the tale of the stranger who bought an orchard, and how one act of kindness grew into a harvest of hope. By 2026, Tom Harper's orchard had become a symbol of hope in Redwood Valley. The drought had broken, but many neighboring farms still struggled. One evening, as Tom and Keanu sat on the porch sipping iced tea, Tom said, "You know, I wish I could help others like you helped me." Keanu nodded. "What if you did?" Tom frowned. "How?" "Your orchard's thriving. What if you shared your techniques, drought-resistant crops, irrigation systems, with struggling farmers?" Tom's eyes lit up. "A cooperative? But I'm just a farmer." Keanu smiled. "Leadership isn't about titles. It's about action." Tom spent weeks researching, calling experts, and visiting failing farms. With Keanu's foundation quietly funding the project, he launched the Redwood Valley Agricultural Cooperative, offering low-cost drought-resistant seeds, training workshops, and shared equipment. At the first meeting, a skeptical farmer named Hank said, "Why should I trust a Hollywood guy's money?" Tom stood up. "Keanu's not here for publicity. He's here because he believes in us. He's funding this out of his own pocket, and he doesn't want a cent back." Hank hesitated, then nodded. "All right. Let's try." Within a year, 20 farms joined the cooperative. Yields doubled, and the town's economy began to recover. Lily, now a sophomore at UC Davis, returned home for summers to help. One day, she found Keanu touring the orchard, sketching trees in a notebook. "You're an artist?" she asked. He smiled. "I dabble. My dad used to draw maps of his farm. Said it helped him see the land differently." Lily showed him her thesis on sustainable agriculture. "I want to help farmers like Dad," she said. Keanu nodded. "You already are. Your dad's work, it's inspiring." Later, Lily received a scholarship from Keanu's foundation to study regenerative farming in Europe. "Use it wisely," Keanu said. "The world needs your voice." Unbeknownst to Tom, Keanu's foundation had replicated the cooperative model in drought-stricken regions across the U.S. and Canada. In Texas, a rancher received drought-resistant grass seeds. In Saskatchewan, a wheat farmer learned irrigation techniques. In 2028, a documentary crew visited Redwood Valley to film a segment on the Keanu effect. The director asked Tom, "Why do you think he did this?" Tom paused. "Keanu once told me, pain makes us withdraw. Kindness makes us grow. He's turning pain into purpose." The documentary aired globally, sparking a movement. Farmers in Spain, Australia, and India contacted the cooperative for advice. In 2030, Keanu visited the orchard for the last time. Tom's father had passed, and the farm now bore a plaque. "To Keanu Reeves, who taught us to grow." As they walked the rows, Keanu said, "My dad always said, the land remembers. Look at what you've built, not just an orchard, but a legacy." Tom smiled. "It's your legacy too." Keanu shook his head. "No. It's ours. We're all seeds in each other's gardens." Years later, when Tom stood at his own porch, watching his grandchildren pick peaches, he thought of Keanu's words. The orchard wasn't just his, it was a living story of kindness, passed from one generation to the next. By 2040, the Redwood Valley Cooperative had grown into a global network, connecting 1,000 farms. Keanu Reeves, now in his 70s, rarely spoke of his role in the movement. In a rare interview, he said, "The real heroes are the farmers. They're the ones who feed us, nurture us, and remind us that even in drought, life finds a way." In Redwood Valley, they tell the tale of the stranger who bought an orchard, and how one act of kindness grew into a forest of hope. By 2035, the Redwood Valley Cooperative had expanded into a global network known as the Harvest Initiative. It connected 2,000 farms across 20 countries, sharing drought-resistant seeds, regenerative farming techniques, and microloans. Keanu's foundation quietly underpinned much of its work, though he avoided public credit. One day, Tom received a call from a farmer in Kenya. "We're facing drought," she said. "Your method saved our crops." Tom's eyes welled. "Keanu's the one you should thank." In 2036, a journalist from The Guardian tracked Keanu to a small farm in Hawaii, where he was volunteering. The reporter asked, "Why agriculture?" Keanu hesitated. "My father was a farmer," he said softly. "He taught me that the land is a teacher. It demands respect." The journalist later wrote, "Reeves' father, Samuel Nowlin Reeves Jr., a Hawaiian Chinese farmer and geologist, instilled in him a quiet reverence for the earth." Though their relationship was strained, Keanu has channeled his father's legacy into sustainable agriculture projects worldwide. In 2040, the United Nations honored the Harvest Initiative with the Global Sustainability Award. Tom, now in his 70s, accepted the prize on behalf of the network. In his speech, he said, "Kindness isn't a gesture, it's a domino. One act sparks another, and before you know it, the world is changing." Keanu sat in the audience, unnoticed, his eyes glistening. Years later, when Tom's grandson, Jake, took over the farm, he found a letter in Keanu's handwriting tucked into a drawer. "Jake, your grandfather once told me, we're all seeds in each other's gardens. I've carried those words with me. Keep growing, keep sharing. The world needs your light." Jake smiled, then walked to the orchard's edge, where a new row of saplings bore a plaque. "For Keanu, who taught us to grow." And so the story of the farmer and the stranger lived on, not just in Redwood Valley, but in the hearts of millions who believed that one small act could change the world. If this story touched your heart, we've got many more that will do the same. Click the screen to discover more tales of hope, compassion, and resilience that will inspire you.